Alrighty, today's our Sec Plus day. Welcome everyone. We're going to be going over Security Plus topics and test taking strategies. So before we get started, we have a student who recently went in and passed the exam. And first of all, congrats to Kelly. Awesome job. You're doing a great job navigating through the program magnificently. So keep up the great work. So with that said, is there anything about Sec Plus that you want to bring up to some of the other students that are going to be taking it soon, or just some hints, some pointers, anything like that that you want to get off your chest while you still have the exam fresh in your
I think mostly a lot of the same. I save the simulations for the end, so it allows me enough time to get through. Um, and I think that helps a lot because it keeps me relaxed. But
Mm-hmm.
I think I only had 5 simulations, and overall, I think they were easier and more straightforward than Net Plus was.
Mm.
But the questions themselves seemed more vague, if that's possible. And there were several where I didn't like any of the choices.
Mm.
There was other options out there that they didn't even put on it. So I don't know how I passed. Lots of prayer. um, but I'm also getting through them, I think, fairly fast because I went to school for this for 2 years. And so a lot of it's refresher.
Yeah, that'll definitely help. Having prior knowledge or just a little experience to lean on while you're taking the exam. So yeah, that definitely helps. Are there any resources that you use that you would recommend to someone that probably doesn't have the background or the experience that you have?
Other than the book was great. I think I got a lot more out of the book even than I did everything else. But all of it combined you need to do all of it. And then if I have anything I'm still not sure about, I go to Professor Messer.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, sounds like a pretty sound assessment. I would agree with most of everything that you just said, especially with the test taking part. I normally get past the performance based questions at the beginning as well. I'd rather just deal with them later, build my momentum in the multiple choice. And then, with the questions being vague, yeah, I mean, it seems that way. And with a lot of the questions, and mostly, for the most part, it's the other way around. It's normally, there's a few questions or a few answers that you like. It could be this one or it could be that one. But I do remember last time I took Security Plus, coming across a few questions where I was kind of like you. I didn't like any of the answers. So yeah, I mean, that definitely sounds familiar. Definitely. But okay. And then as far as the resources go, I absolutely agree with you there. The more you use, the better. You can't just you can't use too many because you're going to pick up something from each one. That you may not pick up from a different resource, but the more you expose yourself to, the more uh, the more things or angles. I'm sorry. The more angles that you add to your training, the better it'll be. Okay. When I say angles, I'm just talking about reading, writing, listening, taking practice exams, hands-on, all of that stuff. The more avenues that you use, the more resources that you use, the better. So, great recap, and once again, congrats. I'm happy for you. You're doing pretty awesome in this program.
Thank
You got
you.
some pretty good stuff under your belt already. You're just about ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I have an interview Monday, so keep me in your prayers then.
I sure will. Okay. Does anyone here have any other questions for Kelly? There's a couple in the chat box. Dan was asking which book you're using.
I have a question. What are the simulations like, and how am I supposed to learn? Like the simulation questions, how am I supposed to learn that? Where's that?
I think the Use Certify helps quite a bit with the simulation questions. Again, some of it was stuff, I had in school, so it's hard for me to remember what I learned where.
Is it actually like, what are they like? They make you drag pictures and stuff to set up a network, or?
Yeah, I had actually 2 drag and drops, but I don't remember. They were, hang on. I had to, oh gosh, I'll think about it and get back to you.
I'm wondering how helpful the actual LearnKey videos with the PowerPoints and the purple and blue lettering and stuff helps versus the exam
CertMaster.
CertMaster, yeah.
So I think a lot of it depends on your learning style. I like all of it because I learn, like if I read something and then I hear it while I'm reading it, like Jason puts words up on the screen, when I look at it, I can hear his voice again, even when I don't have the audio on, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, but also I like the CertMaster because if you don't know it, you can say, I don't know, and it teaches it to you, and it does the repetition. So like if you miss one, you have to go through it like 3 times to make sure you get it.
Okay. And how much time would you say that you spent on the CertMaster?
I think I spent about 2 weeks on the CertMaster this time. Usually I get through it a lot faster, but it took me a little bit longer this time. There's a lot more acronyms in Security Plus than there was in the other stuff.
Okay. And my curiosity, because I'm stuck on session 6 and passing it just because of all the acronyms, and who needs to know that Blowfish is 256, 512, 3, all that jazz. Like you can look that up on Google.
Right. And I don't remember seeing a lot of the real nitpicky stuff on the exam. The exam issue is more the way they phrase it that makes it hard.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right, I agree.
Well, I was going to ask, because those questions, the way when I started to go through the CertMaster the first time, it was asking stuff that I had learned way back in session 1 that I'd have to go back and look, but of course I failed it the first time around. But the questions the way they ask the questions in CertMaster is nothing at all like LearnKey PowerPoints.
You're talking about the post assessments?
The what?
You're talking about the post assessments and online next
week? Yeah, it's nothing like the post assessments. Like I was expecting to have been able to memorize all the post assessments and then go and do CertMaster and be like, oh yeah, I remember this one.
No, so memorization is bad. You don't want to do memorization for CompTIA exams because, one, you're not going to get any of the questions that you memorize from any other resource on the actual CompTIA exam. I can tell you that right now. I've taken a lot of them, and I haven't seen any question that I saw on any practice exam. So memorization is not really something that you want to rely on for these exams. You'll catch a rude awakening real quick. Trust me. These exams they're more conceptual, so it's about kind of understanding the like the concepts and the ideas. And, with Sec Plus, like she said, there's a lot of terminology here, right?
Okay.
So this exam is going to be kind of heavily terminology based, right? It's not going to focus so much on troubleshooting like Net Plus or maybe, one of the A Plus exams, right? You see a lot of troubleshooting there because troubleshooting has its own knowledge domain. Here on Sec Plus, right, when you scroll down, even though I'm not saying you're not going to see any scenario-based questions, but you don't see troubleshooting anywhere here in the knowledge domains, right? So this exam is going to be more heavily based on like these. I don't want to say acronyms, but yeah, there's a ton of acronyms. But it's not just the acronyms; it's the concepts behind them and how do you apply them. That's what the exam is about. Online Expert is not going to look like CertMaster because it's two different companies, right? Online Expert is LearnKey, and CertMaster is Pearson. So you wouldn't expect the questions to look too much alike, right? It's two different. They're getting drafted up by two different companies, and it's the same thing if you go to like U Certified, right? The way that they do their thing is different, right? It's more of a hands-on, like module-based learning tool. Whereas, what's another one? Like Professor Master, right? Everywhere you go, you're going to see a different structure of how the questions are asked and things like that. Same thing with Exam Compass. But the main thing that you want to do is you want to use all of those resources. So when you take the exam, you're kind of ready for anything as opposed to getting used to how they ask questions in Online Expert or how they ask questions in CertMaster. I like CertMaster because the one thing that CertMaster does is it makes sure that it hits every objective. Okay, it's keying in on everything that you're going to need to know for the exam, pretty much. So it hits every area and it lets you focus on just one area at a time.
Okay.
Let me go to U Certified real quick. I'm working on Net Plus right now, actually. So, actually, I meant to go to CertMaster, but no worries. So here, actually, I don't think I have Net Plus for this. I don't. We have Security Plus, right? So I can't really speak much to U Certified because I've never used it to prepare for an exam. Not for a Security Plus exam. I use bits and pieces for A Plus, but for the most part, I haven't used this for security. But what I do know is that it lets you apply a lot of the concepts, right? These little arrows going up and down, these are like matching stuff. It's like what you're likely to see on the exam. Okay. So the performance-based questions that you were asking about, it can be anything really, but the objectives give you an idea of, what you're going to see. So for me, it's been a while since I took Sec Plus, but the one that I remember, it was like, they gave me, it's like a network. I had a whole bunch of different network devices and I had to secure them each. So, I had end devices and I had like a couple switches, a router, had like a server. And then over to the left or the right, I can't remember. I had a bunch of devices or things that would allow me to make those or the network more secure. So, for instance, for like the end devices, like the PCs and stuff, that had like antivirus software, right? Or cable locks for the loose laptops, or like a server room, right, where you could put a lock on it.
That was
like
one of the matching.
That was one of yours, one of the ones that you got?
Yeah, where you had
Okay.
like 3 different categories and you had to, which ones went in each category.
Yeah. Which would be like sort of almost a matching type question, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just not matching definitions and terms. You're just matching, software or, things like that.
One of them actually told you there'll be 3 of this and 2 of this and 4 of this. And so when you got done, it all matched up. The other one, you might not use all of them and you might use all of them. So I like the first one better.
Right. where at least you know how many should be where, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, that's the type of question that you could see, or you could see something even more simpler. Another one I remember is, they gave me like four or six different social engineering definitions. And then I just had to match them up. So I just had to match up shoulder surfing with its definition, or dumpster diving, or, whatever, war driving, whatever it is. So, don't let those throw you off too much, but I would do exactly what Kelly did. And I don't really even worry about those until the end of the exam, until I've already gone through and I've taken answered the rest of the questions. And that way you're not really worried about the clock anymore. You're just like, okay, I'll just answer these. And if I can get it, I will. And if I can't, at least try. Don't leave anything blank. But if you can try, at the very least, you give yourself a shot. Every point counts. So, just a second.
Okay.
Are you still there?
Kelly, I heard you.
Yeah. I'm not hearing
Okay.
Tristan at all.
Yeah, I had to
Oh.
step to the side for a second. I apologize
Okay.
for that.
Okay. No worries.
Um,
I did have less time at the end this time. All the other times I got done and I had plenty of time to review the questions that I wanted to look at. This time I
Mhm.
I had like 3 minutes left by the time I was done.
Why do you think that was? You think it was taking you longer to get through each question, or?
I think so. Just because, like I said, they just seemed even more vague, and the others were bad enough, but it just seemed even more vague this time.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel like that every time I take an exam, a CompTIA exam anyway. Even Cisco exam is a little bit tougher, but at least it's clear. You know what you're supposed to be doing, and they're not really trying to trick you. They're just testing your knowledge. But it just seems like I don't really think CompTIA is trying to trick you. It just seems that they're just tricky. I don't know how to put it. I don't really know how to put it. It's hard to figure out what they're getting at sometimes. Even now, I've been taking CompTIA exams since 2013, 2014, and even now, there's always a few questions where I'm like, what are you talking about? So anyway, awesome job. Okay, so all right, the other resource that I was talking about, I'm sorry, was CertMaster, right? Bookmarks, CertMaster. And then the other thing, I forgot who it was who was speaking a little earlier, but they were talking about they were stuck on one of the sessions in Online Expert. What you want to do is just turn it into an open book exam. Take the training while you're taking or take the post assessment while you're watching the training, and that'll help you. If you're stuck on any one session, that's a way to get all the questions that come directly from the training. So if you're listening close enough, you'll get all the answers to all the questions. You just have to wait for them. Okay. So CertMaster, I don't have the actual.
Are you talking about the going through the Online Expert and doing the cert?
Yes.
Okay.
When you're going through Online Expert, if you're getting stuck on one of the sessions, if you can't pass the post assessment, you keep taking it and you keep falling short of 80%. then the
Oh yeah,
easiest way.
I got you. I would go
Is that
back.
what?
What I would do is print out all the answers that I got wrong, and then went through the video again and just waited because they're all in order.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's the same concept. So you can either do that or you can do it the other way. What I did was I would open two windows. And in one window, I'm taking the post assessment, and then in the other window, I'm watching the training. So as the answers come, I just click it and move on to the next one. Wait for the next one to come. So,
So you can do that
and
with
the reason,
CertMaster also.
no, you can't do that with CertMaster. Okay, and I mean, some of you may be thinking, well, that's cheating, and what do you learn by doing that? And my answer to you there is, it's not cheating. It's a more effective way to get through that, right? When you get done doing that, you're not going to go take the exam. Okay, there's other parts of your training. So all you're doing is you're just fast tracking. you're just getting out of Online Expert so you can open the door to the other resources that are available to you. Okay, so getting through that, doing that, it's not going to.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that fast tracking yourself past that point is not gonna hinder you at all. It's not gonna it's not gonna ensure that you're gonna go past the exam. Okay, it's just getting you past that phase and putting you in the next phase. You're still gonna be training. You're still gonna be researching and learning the same information before you go and take your exam. So that's just to help you guys make sure that you don't get stuck anywhere. Okay, that's how you guys start to lose your stipend when you get stuck for too long. So.
Tristan,
Yes.
one of the things I like to do when I get through the U-Certify CertMaster and Online Expert is I'll go back and redo the pre-test, the labs, and the post-tests in Online Expert, and they seem to be a lot easier after that.
Yeah, because you've obviously, you branched off into a few other resources, and then you picked up some of the stuff that you may have missed the first time. So, that's why it should be a little easier the second time. What I would say is things like this, okay, CompTIA, you want to be careful with CertMaster, okay, because like Kelly was saying, if you miss one, right, they recycle it. And then you have to answer it correctly like another 2 times in a row before they'll count it as answering it right, before they let you progress forward, okay? And what that can do is if you're answering the same question, right, 2, 3, maybe 4 times, it kind of it stills it in your mind, right? It's kind of one of those things where you almost memorize it, right? So be careful. Going through once or twice is fine, but you don't want to get to the point to where you already know the answer to the questions that you're seeing, because it kind of gives you a false sense of this stuff. It's just kind of you're testing your memory instead of your knowledge, so to speak. Okay, so great tool. All right, it definitely is. I used it for my last few exams. Okay, this is a great tool. You don't want to overuse it. Be careful you don't overuse it.
When you do get it wrong or you have to do the learn, make sure you read not just the correct answer, but the reasons why they're correct or incorrect. Mm-hmm. That helps a lot, and the book does that too.
Yeah, I totally agree. Any of them that you get wrong, so with the exception of the ones that you get wrong just because you didn't read it right, okay, I do that sometimes because I'm a skimmer, so I'll end up getting something wrong just because I didn't read it right. Like, it was that one. Be very careful. Make sure you read the questions. But yeah, anytime you get something wrong, make sure you understand why you got it wrong. That's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Especially here, right? Like once you get something wrong, whether you know it or not, if you just get it wrong, or even if you pick one right and you pick another one wrong, it'll give you all the information at the bottom. It'll tell you why. Okay, so make sure that you read that stuff and you absorb it. Okay, because this stuff it's as close as you get to what you're going to see on the exam. Okay, I'm not saying that it is what you're going to see on the exam, but it's pretty close. All right, look, it's from CompTIA, it's from Pearson, right? This is a tool that was designed by the people that are administering the exam. So there are going to be some similarities. They're not going to give you the actual test questions here, but they're going to make them somewhat similar. The concepts are going to really be what they're focusing on. Okay, so this is a really good tool to use. Just make sure you don't overuse it. Okay, there's a lot of other practice exams that you can utilize. Like once you've gone through CertMaster a couple of times, you can come to Exam Compass. This is another free resource. There's some other ones. I think Professor Messer has some practice exams that you can purchase from his website. Mike Myers, they're all over the place. Just make sure you keep your question pool fresh. Okay, don't take any exams too many times to the point to where you're memorizing questions. This is going to be hard to memorize here because there's 24 different exams. And then down here you have a few other ones that are just topic specific. So that's what I really like about this resource. You can focus on just one area if you need to. If you have like one weak area, like PKI, for example, or whatever. This kind of helps you strengthen those little specific areas. So this is a good tool. Definitely a good tool to use. There's some other ones. Pocket Prep. It's one you can download on your phone and use while you're on the go. You can also use CertMaster while you're on the go. I have it on my phone. So there's a lot of good tools. One other thing that I want to show real quick before we move on, because someone asked, how do you learn or how do you get prepared for some of the performance-based questions? And the best way to do that is to get some type of hands-on practice with the stuff. So, for instance, right, I was just talking about one of the performance-based questions that I saw on my last Security Plus exam. And so I'll give you an idea of kind of what it looked like. All right, it's not. So I'm gonna open up one of these saved packet tracer things that I have. Which one? Just open this one. Okay. So a good example of what this looked like, and I mean, this is obviously, it didn't look exactly like this, but they gave me something. It was something similar to this. Okay, so I had some end stations, right? Some end devices. Okay, then I had some access points, and then I got a couple servers up here. See, and a few other things. But you have this little network set up, and then over here, like on the right, you have all type of things that will help you make the network a little bit more secure. Okay, so you would just drag it. So let's say that these laptops are loose, and I have some cable locks over here. Right, you just drag your cable locks over here. Right, secure the laptops. Put some antivirus software on the interfaces. Right. For the routers, maybe like a IPS or something like that. For the servers, maybe we could put these in a room, like in a locked room, in a server room or something like that. All right. So maybe we have the server over here, or somewhere behind a room that's locked, or something like that. But that's my point. It's just it's something simple, and then I don't want to call it simple. But that's an example of something that you can see. So something like this can help you prepare for that. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have the stuff that you can apply to it, but I mean, in an environment like this, you can ask yourself, okay, what can I do in this situation to make this network a little bit more secure, right? So I mean, that's what you really want to think about when it comes to Sec Plus. It's really about understanding the concepts, understanding like the protocols and things that aren't considered secure, right? Some of the stuff that is risky to use. Because a lot of the times they'll put you in a scenario where you're using something that you shouldn't be using. Like maybe, you brought into a network where they're using web, or they're using telnet, right? To to remote into, from this switch over to this router or something. They're using Telnet, right? You probably you probably would rather use Secure Shell. So stuff like that is what you're really looking for, or even like an IDS. To say that you're using an IDS, which is good. It's good to use an IDS, but it's a little bit more better to use an IPS, because then you have detection versus prevention, right? So that's the stuff that you really want to think about when it comes to security, vulnerabilities and things like that can harm your network. That's what you're really looking to prevent. So the terminology, it goes on and on and on. But, I could bring up the objectives again, and like when I scroll down there, you'll see it's just like the first part of this is review. Like you've probably seen viruses and worms and Trojans and stuff before, especially if you took A+. Social engineering and stuff that you saw before. It's like hacker stuff. Where is it? Yeah, up here, like black box, white box. Technologies and tools, like all this stuff you've seen, firewalls, routers, your proxies, your load balancers. So, a lot of this stuff you've already seen. So it's just about understanding the best way, the most effective way to set up a network that's going to be secure from whatever threat they want to send at you. So, let's see. I'm sorry, guys. I haven't been paying much attention to the chat box. I'm not sure.
That's okay. Dan and I have just been chatting.
Are there any particular questions when it comes to security that anyone has? I don't want to be too vague because there's too much information here. But if you go to the bottom of this list, most of you already know this, but go past the acronyms down here. There's a list of software and hardware tools that you can download to kind of help you understand some of the concepts a little bit better. I don't think they're going to give you any Wireshark stuff. I don't know. Kelly would probably know better because probably still a little fresh in her head. Did you see much output on the exam, Kelly, that they wanted you to interpret?
There was not necessarily Wireshark, but I'm trying to remember. When I take an exam, it's just gone the minute I walk out the door.
Yeah, me and you both.
But like lines, where you had to be able to decipher lines of stuff, and yeah, I don't remember. I just remember seeing long lines and going, ugh.
Yeah, it's hard for me to remember most of the questions that I see when I'm taking the exam. The only ones there's normally like 3 or 4 that I remember, and it's just the ones that kind of give me problems. I have to think about it a little bit harder than I wanted to. Those are the ones that I remember. The rest of them are just kind of like a blur.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you guys are just coming on back. Nothing particular. All right. How much time do we have left? Okay. All right. Resources. So we went through a few of them, right? CertMaster, uCertify, Online Expert, obviously. And then there's another list down here. Okay, the tool I was just showing you is more of a networking tool, Cisco type of thing. That's probably something that Kelly's going to want to play around with now that she's moving on to Cisco. But the point of that is this tool will give you access to a ton of like this hardware stuff, right? Like the routers, access points and switches. You get access to all of this through that free tool. Okay, that tool is free, but it does come with a learning curve. Okay, you have to kind of understand how to not just connect these devices, but make them interact with each other.
Tristan?
Yeah.
I found a Cisco thing last night that has the packet tracer with a beginning course. They have several free courses you can take with it. And it has a beginning thing on how to use the packet tracer program.
Awesome. Yeah, the link actually, if you go to the link in the forum, it takes you to the download page, and then it also has that course. So let me see if I can, where did I put it? Oh, I'm sorry, this is the replay section, right? Yeah, I wonder. It's gonna be down here under CompTIA, NetPlus. Actually, it should be under Cisco. I'll probably move it, but yeah, so it's here, and then it takes you to the page, and then actually, you're right, it comes with the course. So what they'll do is they'll walk you through how to use the tool, okay? Not necessarily how to set up a network and like the configurations and things. They may do that, they may not. I'm not sure because I didn't take the course, but you can see it's right here, right? It's a free course, 10 hours long, and it kind of walks you through how to use the actual tool. So like in here, like if you notice, I went to this physical view here, physical versus logical. You can actually set up like a home office where you can put these devices in different places, right? So it walks you through like how to use all of these. Excuse me. How to set up PDUs, right? When you have your network like all the way set up and you want to send traffic through it, and you want to see, you know, the difference between how a packet looks, you know, when it leaves here versus how it looks when it gets here, right? It changes as it moves through the network. And what the PDUs do is they allow you to see what the traffic, or it lets you see how it changes as it moves through the network, which is pretty awesome. Something you definitely want to make sure you pay attention to for Cisco. Definitely not so much for NetPlus, but for Cisco PDUs, they're going to be pretty important to just understand from a basic standpoint. So,
Do they use the packet tracer on the CCENT exam? Do you know?
no, but
Okay.
they have Simlets.
Okay.
And I was explaining this like last week. I think you were there. I'm not sure. I was explaining it to someone, but what they do is they'll give you a question that has 4 parts to it, and you know they'll give you something that looks similar to this, and you'll have access to each of the interfaces, right? So you'll be able to access like this router here, this one here, to get whatever information you need off of them to answer the question. So they may say, you know, which one of these is the DHCP server, and which one is the helper, right? Which one is doing the relays, or what else? I mean, they can ask you anything. You know, how, you know, what's wrong with this network? How can you secure it more? You know, just simple stuff like that. Okay, so they give you something similar to this, but it's not going to be packet tracers. It's going to be a little like Simlet, and you'll be able to access the access points and answer the questions that they give you. But just remember, you cannot skip questions in Cisco. You can't do what you did in CompTIA. Okay, so when you come across those, just make sure you do them.
Yeah, I heard about that. When you guys get to CCENT and CCNA, you can find the Cisco labs that we used in school. You can find those online, and people will walk you through how to do them in Packet Tracer.
Oh yeah, you can easily go to YouTube and say like you want to figure out how to, you know, configure a DHCP pool. You know, just go to YouTube and someone will show you. Type in, make sure you type in Packet Tracer, and someone will walk you through step by step how to do it. So,
yeah.
Along with the training, you know, I haven't taken Jason's training, so I can't tell you exactly, you know, what he showed you how to do or what he doesn't. I just, you know, I haven't.
They don't use. Yeah, he doesn't use Packet Tracer. He uses Boson.
Yeah, he uses Boson.
We don't get access to until after we finish Online Expert.
Right. So here's the thing with Boson. I like Boson because it gives you the same capabilities that you have here. Okay. I know we're getting into networking real quick. You know, we'll switch back to security in a second. But the thing I like about Boson is there's a series of it's a teaching tool. Okay, it's like the difference between CertMaster and Exam Compass, right? If you use both of them, you know, if you get something wrong in CertMaster, it tells you, okay, one, it tells you that you got it wrong. Two, it tells you, okay, why you got it wrong, right? This is what it is.
Hmm.
This is what you should pick next time, right? Whereas, Exam Compass, it's just you either get it right or you get it wrong. If you get it wrong, you have to Google it to figure out, what happened. So it's kind of the same thing. Cisco is more of just kind of a tool that's here for you to practice, and Boson kind of puts you through activities, and it walks you through like all the commands, right? It'll say, all right, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be setting up static default routes. Here are all the commands that you're going to need to use, everything from just getting into the switch to getting into executive mode to getting into config mode, right? Configure terminal to the actual commands that you're going to be using, right? It just walks you through each and every one of them. So that, all right, you have a visual of it. Okay, I see all these commands. I know which ones I need to use. Okay. Very important. I'm pretty sure you probably heard me say this before, but I'll say it again just in case. You're not going to be asked to do any configurations on the exam. Okay, they're not going to say, here's a DHCP pool, configure it on this router. Okay, what they're going to do is they're going to say, here's a DHCP pool. Which one of these commands, would enable this pool on this switch or on this router? I'm sorry. Okay, so you just have to be able to recognize the commands. You don't have to actually physically put them in, which is going to come in handy, especially for like ACLs, right? If you can recognize it, then that's a lot better than having to go in there. Okay, which protocol am I trying to block? Which port is it? The address, the subnet mask, right? You have to remember all of that. But if it's there in front of you and you actually know how to do it, it's a lot easier than trying to do it from scratch. So it should be a nice little caveat there. Okay. Oh, you like configuring. Oh, you see, the thing with configuring is it's easy to fat finger something, right? So if you, who knows, maybe you forget a period between the, between the 192.168, or, maybe you forget a 5, one of the 5s on the 255 when you're typing in subnet mask or whatever. That'll cause you to get it wrong. So in that instance, I'd much rather just pick it out of a bunch of other ones than actually configure it. Because some commands are easy. If you're just trying to set up a VLAN, that's easy. You just say, okay, VLAN 10 and switch port mode access, switch port access, whatever port, right, you want it to be assigned to it, right? That's a lot simpler than trying to configure ACL, especially an extended one. Standard ones are a little easier, but the extended ones, they just require a lot more information. And then if you end up having to apply it, then you have to figure out, okay, which interface do I have to put it on, right? To go on the interface closest to the source, the interface closest to the destination, right? So there's a lot more information that's involved in ACLs when it comes to applying it versus just configuring it. But well, there you go. You know what to look for then, right? So, okay. All right, so let me get off of networking real quick. We'll have plenty of time to talk about networking tomorrow. Back to Security Plus. Okay, so we still have about another 20 minutes left, or actually 10. Anything about security that anyone is bothering anyone, or they just want to kind of talk about? Never use web. They tell you that in A+. You should already know that. Yeah, never use web. If you see web anywhere on Security Plus, that should be a red flag. Oh yeah, I agree. Make sure that you understand all these.
Well, can you repeat
about what?
Red flag.
Oh yeah, web. So your wireless encryption standards. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, never use web.
Yeah, never use web. WEP. Never use it. If you see it anywhere in Security Plus, it's a red flag. Right? If you see it anywhere, even in A Plus, you should. The only time you should be using web is if you don't have any other options. In which I don't know why you wouldn't have any other options. It would have to be the device that you're trying to connect to is only compatible with web. So that's the only reason that you would use it. It's too easy to crack. So if someone really wants to crack it, they'll be able to crack it, and not much time at all. So WPA, WPA is better than web, but if you can, if you have WPA 2 as an option, then you want to, you don't want to use it. That's really what Security Plus is about. Is the scenarios that they put you in, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be using some type of protocol or some type of encryption standard or something that's outdated. You just have to be able to spot it. It's either outdated or it's unsecure. You have to be able to spot it and say, okay, I shouldn't be using Telnet. I need to be using Secure Shell. Or I shouldn't be using HTTP, right? I should be using HTTPS, right? Stuff like that, right? There's a secure version of TFP, right? There's a secure version of just about every protocol that you're going to come across. So, the main thing is just knowing which ones you want to use and which ones you want to stay away from, right? A lot of this other stuff is just, it's just blah, blah, blah stuff. Definitely want to make sure that you know it, but here would be your secure version of FTP right here, right? So you have this little section here, 2.6, where you're just talking about secure protocol versus, some other ones that want to be secure. Most of these replace something that wasn't secure at first. So they add like an S to it, right? Like FTPS, and you have SFTP, same thing. One of the ones where they don't do that would be like Telnet and Secure Shell, right? It's the exact same thing. It's just Telnet is plain and Secure Shell is encrypted. So, same thing, HTTP, HTTPS. So a lot of the times when you see those updated versions of something that wasn't secure before, a lot of the times you'll see this S and it'll kind of give it away that this is a more secure version of the prior one, right? Or this right here, right? Like SMMP, when you see like version 2 or version 3, that kind of gives you an indicator that this has been updated or patched, right? Something like that for security purposes. Mainly, when you see patches, it's mainly for security. It's either security or it's optimization, right? They want to make it run smoother, or they found some vulnerabilities that they want to patch up. So, that's for the most part, when you see it patched, that's what it's doing. Okay. What else? SFTP uses SSH. Yeah, that's some good FYI for you right there. Right? They're both considered secure. Secure sockets layer is secure. It's secure. It's more of a tunneling thing, right? And then your Secure Shell is it's basically a secure version of Telnet. So you want to remote into a access point, another access point that you have on your network somewhere. You don't want to physically go to it. That's why you would use Secure Shell. Okay. What else? Just I can't stress the acronyms. Kelly brought it up, and I'm going to second her on that. They're all over the place on this exam. There's a ton of them. You see them. Some of them you've seen before, okay, which is good. And then you're gonna have like quite a bit that are just like brand new. Like you got your CHAP, right? This stuff right here is kind of specific to Sec Plus, like your CHAP, your Microsoft CHAP, right? Radius you've seen before, right? It's your remote authentication, right? It's dial in something. TechX Plus, right? So your terminal access, Kerberos, your three-headed dog. Just remember that if you see anything about a three-headed monster or a three-headed dog, it's Kerberos. Right? It's a mythical creature, but it's a three-way handshake, basically. That's why they call it the three-head monster, but it's just an authentication thing. What else? I'm just looking for FYIs for you guys. I still have a little time left. Risk management.
You think it's helpful or necessary to take the study questions and go through the videos of Online Expert and fill in the blanks of all this stuff?
Do I think it's helpful to do that?
I mean, yeah, I'm not sure where those come from. All those the study guide.
The study. Which one? Are you talking about the workbook? Or?
Yeah, the workbook.
Okay. Yeah. So let me tell you the main objective of the workbook is to give you an activity or another dimension to your learning. Because think about it, if you didn't have a workbook, you're just sitting there listening to the training for however long it is. It's got to be over an hour, right? Per session. Yeah. How much are you going to actually retain if you're just sitting there listening and listening and listening? Even if you're taking notes, I mean. So the whole purpose of the workbook is just to give you an extra dimension while you're sitting there listening. Right now, you're not just listening, but you're looking for specific key points or answers to questions and things like that. It has activities as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's important to use the workbook while you're going through the training, because if you don't, you're going to forget over half of what you heard.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to me. When I was a student and I was going through the program, that's why it occurred to me to open up the post-assessment while I was taking the training, because I couldn't remember all that stuff. I would sit there and go through a whole session, and then by the time I got to the post-assessment and I started answering the questions, I couldn't remember the stuff that I was hearing an hour ago. So
the question I had originally, the very first one question that I had was, when I started going through this online learning through LearnKey, the one question I had was, if we can get through 100% of the post exam, can we pass the test? And it seems like the answer is no. You still should be doing the Cert Master and Professor Messer stuff.
Yeah, the answer is no. It's okay. So there is an instance where maybe you would be able to just go through the Online Expert training and pass the exam. In that instance is if you have prior experience. If you already know this stuff and you're just going through here as a refresher, then you might be able to just go through and I mean, I'm not at all saying that Jason is not teaching you what you need to know. He's just covering the basics. He's covering like the beginner level stuff. It's kind of like an example that I've used in the past is like boot camp, right?
Yeah.
When you get to boot camp, it's not really like what it's going to be like when you get to the field, right? We probably all went to different boot camps. I was in the Navy, so my boot camp was nothing like Marine boot camp, and it was nothing like Air Force boot camp either. But my point is, you're just getting an introduction into what it's going to be like, and then once you graduate and then you go out and then you're actually in the field, and then that's when you see what it's really like. But here it's just, Jason is covering all the basics of the information, but he's not going into the depth that you need to go and pass the exam. That's why we give you all those other resources.
Okay.
Otherwise, we say, okay, when you're done with the post-assessment, then just go take the exam. No, it doesn't work like that.
Okay.
So, Tristan, I took 2 years of school and we had security in almost every class. And there was still stuff, even in Jason's, that we didn't cover in school. And then there was more in Cert Master that we hadn't covered in school. So getting a lot of different resources is really important.
Yes, I definitely agree. I found that out when I took my first A+ exam, because I used two resources. I used Online Expert, right? It took me a while to get through it, but once I got through it, then I used it was a resource called Cram Master at the time, and it was just horrible. It was it took what CertMaster does to the extreme. Instead of just recycling the questions that you got wrong, it recycles all of the questions. You have to go through like 3 different passes of answering the same questions. So you memorize all of them, and then you go take the exam and you think you're ready because when you got to your 3rd pass, you knew all the answers. And then you go take the exam and it had none of the questions that you memorized on it. It didn't even remotely ask them in like remotely the same way. It was horrible. So be glad that I got rid of that for you guys. It took me a while, but I finally did. Got CertMaster. So CertMaster is a lot better. But yeah, my point being is I only used those 2 resources, and I studied probably like 6 weeks for that exam. Like I over prepared for that exam, and I still failed it. So I had and a lot of it had to do with me not paying much attention to the objectives or having no idea what to expect. It was like my first exam, and I was just kind of like shooting in the dark. But my point is, like for my retake, I adjusted my whole strategy. I started doing exactly what Kelly said. I just started pulling from multiple resources and to fill like all of those holes that I had, because I felt that the information that I got here, the first time, I felt like exactly what you were saying. I thought that if I can get through here, then I should be able to pass the exam, and that wasn't the case. So many resources, use as many as you can find, pull what you can from it, and then the other thing is, the ones that really speak to your learning style, those are the ones that you really want to use the most. So for me, I'm a hands-on learner, right? So if I'm preparing for a networking exam, this is going to benefit me a whole lot more than listening to lectures and taking notes. Doing this stuff is what makes it stick for me, right? Some people are readers. So, if you need to read, then read. Do whatever it is that speaks to your learning style, and then use that one as a primary resource, and then use the others just to kind of supplement, what you're still struggling with. That's my approach for every exam. So, okay. So we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. If you have any other questions or concerns, or if you just want to chop it up about whatever, just shoot me an email, troberts@learnkey.com, or just hit my extension, 139, and we'll chop it up, and I'll see what I can do to help you. All righty. Great session. The next one will be tomorrow at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time, and we will be talking Net Plus stuff. So not just Net Plus, Cisco too. So if you're going to be talking Cisco, or if you're going to be taking Cisco, go ahead and show up. Just make sure that if you have questions about Cisco, you ask them, because for the most part, I'm just going to kind of stay on Net Plus. Most people are working on Net Plus. But if you have concepts that you want me to go over that pertain to Cisco, then ask them, because networking is networking. It's just, you go a little deeper into the concepts when you get to Cisco. With that said, great session, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks for attending.